guys, welcome back to my channel. Today's video we're just gonna chat. We are just gonna talk about all the things like New Year's resolutions and New Year, just all the things. It's a new year. And so first of all, it is already January 14th. So we are already halfway through the month. And that's crazy to me. First of all, it is going really fast. It's been a really busy beginning of the year for us. We started January with car problems, which is not fun, but just what it is. So that's been a really big bummer and something that we've been just trying to figure out for the last couple weeks. So what I wanted to talk about was updates on what I've read this year and ratings, or this month, I should say. I mean, both are accurate, but I wanted to talk about like the books that I've read, the books that I plan to read, and what I've rated those books. And then I wanted to talk about some New Year's goals and resolutions. Let me pause. I just got a new espresso machine, and when I tell you that I'm actually obsessed with it, like I'm legitimately obsessed. It is so good. I've never been able to make lattes like this good before. It's just me and Jack are both obsessed. I can't even get over it. So first things first, let's jump into the books that I have read so far in 2025. I've read 7 books, and it's the 14th. Obviously, as you guys know, I do listen most of the time, as well as like follow along either on my Kindle or in the physical book. So most of these I read with the audiobook and following along. But the first book of 2025 was The Winners by Frederick Bachman. But Goodreads did an update on like your reading challenge for the year, and I can't tell if I like it or not yet. I am one of those people that was like, Goodreads, you need to change, and then they changed, and I was like, I don't know if I like the change. But this is The Winners. Okay, hold on. The Winners by Frederick Bachman. This book for me was a 5-star. I love Frederick Bachman. I think his books are phenomenal. So far, I've read either 3 or 4 of his books. And I can't remember. I know I've read now the whole Beartown series, so that's 3, but I can't remember. I feel like there's a 4th one that I read, and I'm not remembering it, but whatever. I do have a lot of his books on my TBR for this year, so I want to get to Anxious People, A Man Called Ove or Ove, I don't know how you actually pronounce it, and Britt Marie Was Here is one of them. And there's one more that I have the physical book for, but it has a really long name, and I can't remember what the name of it is, but I think the cover has like a little girl and a dog on it. But so The Winners has a little bit of a story because I got into a little bit of a reading slump. I started that book in December, and I was like, I'm flying through this thing. This is going to be my last read of the year. I'll probably get through this before January hits. And literally, it was like the second I turned that video off, it was like reading slump. I ended up binging the entire Virgin River show. And obviously it was the holidays. We had Christmas function after Christmas function, and then it is my brother's girlfriend's birthday is in between Christmas and New Year's, and my husband's birthday is right after hers before New Year's. So it literally was like Christmas on the 25th, Hayden's birthday, Jack's birthday, and then New Year's. And it's just like every other day we had something to be going to. And, you'd think with like a lot of people having work off, that like we had all this free time, but it felt like I was busier than normal. Like I was busier than just a normal work week when, Jack goes to work and I work at the bookstore and all that. Like it was just, we were so busy between the 25th, even before that. We were so busy the week before Christmas all the way through New Year's. So, and busy in a good way. Like we spent lots of time with family and we just had a really, really wonderful couple weeks. But nonetheless, I didn't read basically anything. I tried to pick up the winners a couple times between Christmas and New Year's and literally probably read like a whole 5 minutes of it before I put it back down and was like, this is just not for me right now. I'm clearly in a little bit of a slump. But then January hit and, New Year's happened. The family functions were kind of over. Everybody was going back to work and it just ended up being a good time. I tried to pick back up the winners and ended up reading it in like a couple days. Guys, I don't know why I keep yawning. I'm going to try to cut it out, but oh my goodness, it's nonstop this morning. So, with that being said, the winners for me was still a 5-star read. First of all, I love that I started off 2025 with a 5-star read. That was amazing. But I feel like the reading slump was not by the fault of the book. That was my fault and just a bad time to be reading that book per se. Like I don't feel like it was because of reading the winners, although the winners was quite long and I did feel like about halfway through I started to like lose interest in the way that I didn't care as much as I did in the beginning. But not that I didn't care at all. Like I still wanted to know the end. I cared about the characters. All that was still true, but it was like I was just starting to get a little bit bored. And then after the holidays and everything, like I jumped back into it and I really enjoyed it again and I loved it and I finished the second half of it no problem. So I think that was just more of a really bad timing thing, but now I've since read You Shouldn't Have Come Here by Geneva Rose. I don't know why, like my camera just does not want to focus on that. Okay, there we go. You Shouldn't Have Come Here by Geneva Rose. This book for me was a 3-star. It was enjoyable. Definitely enjoyable. I loved every second of it. It was, again, with the yawning, it's got to stop. It was incredibly enjoyable. I loved every minute of it, but I do feel like it definitely wasn't one of my favorite thrillers I've ever read. Not even just not one of my favorite thrillers, but I felt like it wasn't super thrilling. Like I was not really on the edge of my seat the whole time, or even for most of it. Even at the points where I think she wanted you to be like, you can't put it down. It was just so exciting. Like even at the end of the book, I was still just kind of saw it coming. So that's why I gave it a 3-star. It was still enjoyable. Like I said, I still feel like I wouldn't tell people like, oh, don't read this book. But I would probably say like, yeah, I kind of saw the ending coming, but it was really, really good and enjoyable. So, and I don't want to say what I had guessed because I don't want to spoil anything. But there was like one specific thing that I don't even know. I don't know if it was that she like kind of hinted at it or it was just that I was just a good guesser. I don't know, but I kind of like had an inkling from the very start of the book that ended up kind of like being true, and it kind of made it like not as exciting anymore because it was like, yeah, I literally kind of guessed that from the start. So that's how I felt about You Shouldn't Have Come Here. Then I moved on, and this is really, I would say, what got me like out of my reading slump. You Shouldn't Have Come Here was good because it was really quick, but this book kind of got me back into the mood. Like I was like, it is time to read. We are going to read for pretty much a couple days nonstop. And that book is The Deal by Elle Kennedy. The Deal I read in like a day, but to be fair, I had already started like just a month or two ago. I had started reading The Deal and I decided that it wasn't the right book for the right time. And so I like soft DNF'd it. And because that was like so recently, I ended up just picking up from right where I left off, and I just continued to the end. So I probably had about a fourth of the book already read, and it's not a very long book to begin with. So it literally took me one really good day of having time to read, and I had that book finished. And because that one was actually, I feel like this series is not one of my favorites, but I don't dislike it. That book was probably a 3-star for me. Like, it was incredibly enjoyable, but nowhere near ranking one of my favorite romance series. Nowhere near. Like, if somebody's gonna ask me, oh, like, what's a really good romance series that I should read? This is one that it wouldn't even pop up on my radar. Like, there's 50 other books that I would probably recommend before I got to The Deal. But nonetheless, that does not mean that it wasn't enjoyable and that I didn't like reading it. And so it definitely helped get me out of the slump. It was very enjoyable. Just not one of my favorites. But I still moved on from The Deal and went right into The Mistake, which is the second book in the Off-Campus series by Elle Kennedy. I also binged The Mistake in literally probably a day-ish. The Mistake was like less enjoyable to me than The Deal, but I still, like I said, like this, it's like trash romance. Like, it's not even that good. It's just about all of these college students, and it's the part that has me intrigued is that you're watching like this group of friends that are hockey players. You're watching each of them kind of fall for these girls, and it's all happening like at the same time. So like you read The Deal and then you read The Mistake, and they like reference things that are happening in The Deal that you've already read. And then you read the next book, which is The Score. And in The Score, you're hearing about both things that happened. So like you're hearing about after the events of The Deal, but kind of during the events of The Mistake. But now it's, you know, like they kind of stagger in timeline where they overlap just a little bit each book. And to me, that was really enjoyable. It's like this one big group of friends, and you're just like watching each friend kind of get their happy ending or their story. You get to see each person's background and like just why they are the way that they are. And I found it really enjoyable. But The Mistake just followed two characters that I didn't love as much as I loved The Deal with Hannah and Garrett. The fact that I can never remember the two main characters' name in The Mistake is like very telling that I did not love that one nearly as much as I loved The Deal. So this one was kind of like a 2.5 for me. Like, you should read it if you're going to read the series because the characters do show up all throughout the rest of the series, but it was my least favorite one so far. But before we move on to the next book in Elle Kennedy, I jumped around because I was trying not to just binge one whole series in January and that be the only thing that I read this month. So Next thing I read was something that's been on my physical TBR for a while. I'm really trying to knock books off of my physical and my Kindle TBR before I buy anything that I don't have. And so the next one was really exciting, and it was Friends, Lovers, and the Big Terrible Thing. I could not remember if it was like great or big. Why? There we go. This book is by Matthew Perry, who plays Chandler Bing in Friends, who just passed away in, I think, October of 23. I only know that because I looked it up while I was reading the book. I looked a lot of things up while I was reading this book. I am a huge, huge Friends fan. I don't know. I feel like I haven't been watching it nearly as much. I've kind of been in my Gilmore Girls phase. But back in like middle school and early high school, I binged a lot of shows that are incredibly influential to the things that I watch now. And I still love all of these shows. I love Friends, Gilmore Girls, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Charmed, the original Charmed, not the new one, Supernatural, Grey's Anatomy. These are all shows that I watched all through middle school and high school because your girl has ADD, and in order to actually focus and get anything done, my brain needs stimulation. I have to have multiple things going at once. And so all through middle school and high school, how I focused on my homework was by watching TV in the background. My mom thought I was lying. My mom literally was like, no way, this is just your excuse to watch TV. And I was like, I swear to you, my brain doesn't know how to function without multitasking. Like, I need stimulation in the background at all times. I'm still like this as an adult. In order to focus, I have to have something playing in the background. You will notice that my TV is just always going. Like, there's always something playing on the TV. That's why I watch so much YouTube. That's why I'm always listening to podcasts and stuff, because in order to be productive and get things done, I have to have things playing. That's why I listen to so many audiobooks. Like, audiobooks, when I found out, I was like 18 when I really learned about audiobooks, and when I tell you it was almost like an addiction, like I was like, I didn't know how to function anymore or do anything without having a headphone in with an audiobook. I've gone through like 3 pairs of AirPods because I literally probably 90% of the time I have a headphone in and I'm listening to an audiobook. That's just been my life for the last 4 or 5 years of my life. So all that being said, wow, that was quite a tangent just to talk about Friends, but this is just me, guys. This is how I talk. So all that to say, I've had Matthew Perry's book for a long time, like on my shelf, and I had it on my TBR long before I actually owned the book. And for some reason, memoirs are always those books that I think I'm not in the mood for them, and so I never pick them up. But then when I actually do read it, I love it so much that I'm like, why don't I read memoirs more often? Like, I love them. Especially if the author narrates the audiobook. That is like one of my favorite things as a reader. I cannot even tell you how much joy and serotonin goes in my brain when I hear the author start narrating the book. There's nothing like it. I'm serious. Like, the second I heard Chandler Bing's voice pop into my ear, it was like a bestie just telling me his life story. Like, I felt like I was there. Like, I was like, Matthew Perry came from beyond the dead, beyond the grave, to come tell me his life story. That's what it felt like. And I loved it. I loved every second of it. For like a good huge chunk of the beginning of the book, I played it out loud because my husband is also a Friends fan. And when I started playing it, I was actually just playing the sample of the audiobook to see if I actually wanted to listen to it. And so I was just playing like the beginning of it like out loud, and my husband was so into it, and I didn't even realize how into it he was, because the next day I was like listening to it on my own, and he was like, "Are you listening to the book without me?" And I was like, "I'm so sorry. I didn't know you were so invested." And he was like, "Yeah, it's really good." Like, both of us loved this. We loved this so much. This was a great memoir. I don't like to rate memoirs unless I just give them like a 5 star, because it feels a little bit weird to rate somebody's life story. Like, to be like, it was decent. But I do feel like you can rate based on like writing style and things like that. Like, it's still a book. So I don't know. I feel like if I had to give it a rating, I would probably just say it's a 5 star, because I really, really enjoyed reading this story. I felt a like I finally felt like I knew Matthew Perry as a person, even though like I obviously never met this guy in my life. But it's like you feel like you can just know him. You realize that these celebrities are just normal people, and they live normal lives, and they deal with normal things like addiction and just stuff like that. That's like, getting to see what his life was like was just like, man, yeah, he was really rich, but he was just a normal dude. Like, he was literally just a typical normal guy. And like the fact that being rich and famous did not make his life this like magical, oh, like my life was fixed because I had money. Like, he says multiple times that he thought that if he just got that one role, if he just got, this much money, that he would be happy, or his life would be fixed, his life would be better. And like towards the middle to the end of the book, he constantly says like, no, I got that money, I got that fame, and my life was nowhere near better. Like, I was in the darkest part of my life that I've ever been in. And that was just also really, really like cool to hear to me, that it's like, even like money really doesn't make happiness. It's like, you think that like, yeah, money doesn't make happiness, but I sure would be happier if I had it. And the truth of the matter is, you don't know that. You really don't know that money is going to make this huge difference in your life, or that you're not going to be like, you're still going to deal with the same things. You still are the person that you are, no matter how much money you make or all of that. It was just really, really cool. I enjoyed this memoir so much, and this was a really, really great read for me. Also, who knew that Chandler Bing was literally Matthew Perry? Like, that character was 100% just like Matthew Perry. Like, he is Chandler Bing. He does use humor as a defense mechanism. He does have divorced parents that has caused him a lot of mental issues, and like, just he is Chandler Bing. Like, if you feel like you love Chandler Bing's character for all of his flaws and all of his weird things, like, that is Matthew Perry, and you'd love reading his book as well, because you could just tell that like he really poured everything into that character. That character was him. But moving on, the next book is One by One by Frida McFadden. I decided to jump into another thriller after reading You Shouldn't Have Come Here by Geneva Rose. I was kind of in the mood for another thriller, and I wanted something like kind of quick and short, but that would be like really exciting and really good. And I'm like 50-50 with Frida McFadden. Sometimes I pick up one of her books and it's like the perfect quick little thriller, and it's so fun. And then sometimes I'm like, that was okay. Like, it wasn't great, but it wasn't bad. It was just okay. And I kind of felt that way about One by One. I liked it. I enjoyed it. It was not like a waste of my time. I would still recommend it to people. It was enjoyable. But was it a little predictable? Yeah, just a little bit. Some people don't think that. Like, I've talked to a couple people now on social media that have read One by One, and they were like, oh my gosh, that ending really got me. And I was like, huh. This was one that I definitely saw coming. Like, I don't know why. Like, I kind of thought that it was like a little bit of an easy ending. Like, it was like, yep, that's kind of what I thought. Like, it was not, I don't know, but it was still fun and it was still enjoyable. It was incredibly quick. Like, the audiobook, and it's on Kindle Unlimited, and the Kindle like version are really short and quick. I swear it took like probably 4 hours for me to read and listen to the majority of this book. So that one was a 3-star. And then the 7th book and the final book that I read so far in January is, you guessed it, The Score by Elle Kennedy. This one was, character-wise, my favorite so far in the series. I really, really loved watching the character development of these two characters. But this one was also by far the spiciest one in the series. And so this one has me questioning if I want to continue. Just because personally, I don't love a ton of spice in my books. I've said it before, I don't feel like I don't, oh my gosh, what is the word? Guys, I'm struggling. I do not judge others who do read books with lots of spice. It's just not for me. I don't love it. I just, yeah, I don't feel great about reading books with like tons of spice. And this one was a lot. Like, it was to the point where it was really difficult at some points to even be able to, like, I enjoy when a romance book makes it quite easy to like skip or skim over certain scenes, because that makes it a little bit easier for people who don't love a bunch of spice to read the book. And this one was very difficult to skip or skim. So, with that being said, if you like spice in your books, you'd probably love this one. This one was by far my favorite character-wise of the 3 books. But if you don't like spice and you really try to avoid it, you're not going to want to pick up this book or the series, probably, just because I don't know if it's going to get worse from here. Like, I don't know if the spice level just gets more and more per every book or what, but yeah, this was definitely the spiciest. But I gave this one a 3-star as well. Like, character-wise, if it were not for the spice, I feel like this one would have been like maybe a 4-star. But for me, that just plays a big role. And obviously this channel is about my thoughts and feelings on books, and that's my thoughts. So yeah, that's it for the 7 books that I read so far in 2025. And then really quickly, I just want to talk about some of my goals for 2025, just so that you guys can watch throughout this year as I try to keep these goals and just do better in 2025. So I have some reading goals, and I'm going to try to go through them fairly quickly. My first and obvious reading goal is the numerical reading goal that I feel like every reader sets every year. And literally my hair's falling out of my braid. My reading goal for this year is 125 books, which is actually how much I got to last year. I think exactly. I'm pretty sure I read exactly 125 books in 2024. My goal last year was 100 even, and I obviously beat that goal by 25 books. And so I was hoping that this year I can try to beat last year's goal. And then my next goal is read 5 classics, and rereads count for classics because I used to love classics when I was in college, high school and college actually. You know, we would read classics for school, and I loved them. Like, every time I enjoyed it so much, but I never picked them up on my own. And so I'm setting a goal to read 5 classics throughout the year. Like, come on, out of 125 books, 5 of those can be classics. I feel like that sounds like a really easy goal to achieve, but I'm such a mood reader that that can actually be pretty difficult. I want to find 10 5-star books. January helped me with that. I'm only going to count the winners, because I really don't rate memoirs. But if I did, I would already have found 2. But I'm just going to count the winners. And then my next one is complete 20 books off of my physical TBR. So new books are not included in that. That does not mean just go out and buy 20 new books and read them and say that I reached this goal. I want to read 20 books off of my physical TBR, like that I already had before 2025. And then my last goal is only buy 5 books a month at the most. So really, I want to work on not buying many at all, like maybe 1 book a month, 2 books a month. But this is actually really hard for me because we have a independent bookstore. We have a couple independent bookstores around here that I really love and I find really good used books at. And so it's actually difficult, but I feel like financially and space-wise, like I'm running out of space on my bookshelves. And so I just want to really work on not constantly buying new books. Then moving on to just my general 2025 goals. My first one is I want to read my Bible daily. I really, really want to start my morning by spending just half an hour in the Word and reading and spending some good quality time with Jesus, because I was not great at that last year. And I just feel like when I get into a period where I'm doing that often, I can just tell, like it's just so much better for me. It's so productive. It's really, really good for me to be doing that. And so that is one of my goals for 2025, is maybe not to just jump the gun and be like every single day, but as much as possible, like as often as possible, I want to be spending my morning reading my Bible. My other one that these all kind of go hand in hand. I want to wake up earlier than 8 a.m. throughout the week. So I did do that this week because I was up at 7 this morning. So that is a kickstart. And I did decent last week. So that's pretty good. I feel way less productive when I sleep in past 8 a.m. Like I just feel like I do not get as much done throughout the day. And then my next one is no social media until after 10 a.m. This one, I actually set parameters on my phone that my social media apps are locked until after 10 a.m. I just did that in the settings under screen time, and I set I can't remember what it's called, but basically a time where certain apps are locked until this time every single day. And so I will not be sitting and doom scrolling all morning and just wasting my morning. I want to get up, I want to work out, I want to eat a decent breakfast, I want to spend my morning reading my Bible, and then maybe after all of that is done, maybe I will be able to jump on social media and not doom scroll and just spend a good, time responding to comments and uploading videos and all that kind of stuff. And then my last goal for the year is just a Monday reset every week. So every Monday, if my house is not already clean, I want to spend my Monday cleaning and tidying the house, making sure the dishes are done, cleaning each room, doing laundry, that kind of stuff. I want to start every week with a really fresh start. I also feel less productive when my house is messy. And so that's one of the things that I can fix. I can clean my house and it not be messy. And so that just goes along with all of these goals. These goals are, I actually started most of these at the end of 2024. I don't feel like, oh, because it's a new year, I'm a new me. That just doesn't happen. But I do think it's like good and healthy for us to set some easily attainable goals that we can just work towards throughout the year, goals that make us better people, happier people. I do healthier. I really want to spend 2025 working on my health. I want to get back into the gym. I want to eat healthier. I want to, work on just my health in general. I had a diagnosis last year that made it a little bit hard for me. It just changed the game for health. And so I feel like this year I really, really want to work on being healthier. But you'll notice that I didn't put those things in my general goals. And that's because sometimes really, really super broad goals like that overwhelm me. And so I just have to take it one step at a time and maybe set myself like a weekly or a monthly goal. Like this month, the goal is to work on what I'm eating, or this month, the goal is to get back into the gym, or, things like that. And that's something I'll just work on throughout the year, but I'm not going to put that on my general goal because it's a little bit overwhelming for me and it kind of makes me want to shut down and not do any of it. So, with that being said, that is everything for this year. That is everything for January so far. Thank you guys so much for joining me on this long rant of a video. I love you guys so much, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.